Welcome to Chamber Talk, brought to you by North Orange County Chamber, where we explore the stories and insights of leaders, business owners and CEOs from various sectors who are making a difference in our community and region. Whether you're tuning in via podcast or joining us via video, we're glad to have you here. I'm your host, Andrew Gregson, and today we have the honour of welcoming Orange County Supervisor Doug Chaffee. Supervisor Chaffee, thank you very much for coming on today. Really appreciate your time.
My pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Just so everybody knows, Supervisor Chaffee represents the 4th District, which includes the cities of Brea, Buena Park, Fullerton, La Harbour, Placentia, Stanton, and portions of Anaheim. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Is there anyone else we've missed out there?
Yes, there are 3 supervisors. Anaheim's kind of chopped up.
That's true.
And I have the most western portion.
Now, before we get into any topics, to make it easier for you, an easy and leading question is, you're the chair of all the supervisors this year. Is that correct?
Yes, it's my second time, the honor of doing that.
And what's the difference between the role when you're a regular supervisor to now you're the chair of all the supervisors?
Well, you preside at the meetings, for one, and you tend to be the spokesperson for the county more than you would individually, because individually we're talking about our districts. As a chair, you need to be concerned more about the entire county. And then there's more paperwork that we get into. I have to sign things on behalf of the county. We sometimes send out letters of support. That usually goes out over my signature.
Oh, well, that's quite a lot. Now, I do know you're on a lot of other different committees and things, which we'll get into in a moment. And one of the first ones is obviously you've served on several important commissions and boards, including Orange County Sanitation District, OCTA, Metrolink, Cal Optima Health. I mean, there is quite a few. Can you provide us with any key updates for any of these organizations that stick in your mind right now?
Well, I can give you some hints.
Good.
I'm very proud of our OC SAN. We're now providing, in partnership with the Orange County Water District, 130 million gallons per day of fresh water collected out of our sewer runoff. And by the time we're done, we've used microfiltration, reverse osmosis, ultraviolet light, and some hydrogen peroxide. End of the day, we have something that is almost distilled water quality. Now, in the early days, I think they made a PR goof. They used to use the little cute thing. They thought, this is toilet to tap.
Okay.
Well, actually it isn't. It goes into the aquifer and pumped out. We no longer say toilet to tap because that was a PR disaster. We now say showers to flowers.
Right.
And so I'm very proud of that. It is the most up-to-date plant in the world. It provides more water than anywhere else in the world. I'm trying to promote this kind of statewide,
right? Because
it's a source of water that's cheaper for us than any other source.
Oh, really?
And there are environmental concerns that people sometimes miss.
Right.
Because when the sewer water comes in, we take out the biogas and we use it for fuel. Mm-hmm. The environmental concern is if it was released to the atmosphere, you'd be releasing methane.
Oh, right, okay.
But by the time we burn it, now we're releasing carbon dioxide, which is much less harmful. Mm-hmm. And also, we take out the solids. We truck that out for fertilizer when we're done with that. And we have less effluent going into the ocean, too. So it's very environmental sound besides the benefit of all that water that we're getting. So I'm very proud of that district and the great work they're doing there.
Now, that's a big undertaking. What sort of clicked that onto your radar? Because, I mean, it's not something you're just wandering around by day and go, oh, I know what I'm going to do.
Well, I have to thank the predecessors. It took 15 years in stages to get it to 130 million gallons a day.
Wow.
And that means connecting the pipes to the right spot, getting all the equipment in there. So it's a tremendous asset because that's enough water for more than 1 million people in our county.
That's a large amount of water, isn't it? So moving on a little bit, with transportation has always been a major topic in Orange County. And are there any upcoming improvements or projects that Orange County Transport Association or Metrolink are involved with right now?
Oh, there certainly are. Earlier last year, we opened up the improvements to the 405. That was a $2 billion plus project. Had to rebuild, I think if I remember correctly, 19 bridges. That took some time. And now the traffic moves much more smoothly and faster than before. We now have just recently dedicated an improvement project on the 91 freeway. There's some bottlenecks there. There's a spot where we integrate into the 55 and the 57. Along that corridor, some 321,000 cars per day pass through. Wow. And it tends to be a bottleneck, a snag. So we have got the funding, which as I recall is estimated $779 million to improve that whole area. And it will take a few years to do that. And yes, the construction will annoy people while it's going on.
Of course. But
the result will be very beneficial. We have another bottleneck on the 55 where it integrates with the 405. And that project is well underway. I think we'll see the end of that sometime next year.
Right.
And traffic will move much more rapidly. I also serve on what we call the Transportation Corridor Agency, which is our agency that does the, what we call that, the billing for your service. It's a user situation. If you don't use it, you don't pay for it. We have a project there that is trying to eliminate a bottleneck where it merges from the 241 into 91, both going to Riverside and back into the L.A. Orange County area.
Oh, right.
As it's a huge, sometimes a 40-minute wait to go through that.
Yeah.
And then you have a mixing bowl effect when you get on the 91. It'll help eliminate that. And that, we think, will break ground next year. So that's a major improvement. Metrolink, I'd like to see finally a station in Placentia. We're working on that. It's closest to Cal State Fullerton. A lot of the professors come in from the Inland Empire.
Right.
That'd be great. I would also like to make you aware of what we call the Bright Line project, which is going to go from Rancho Cucamonga to Las Vegas. It's a bullet train.
Wow, it's about time, isn't it?
Yeah, and this. Yeah, I think it would be extremely popular. Las Vegas can't wait, of course.
Right, right.
And it connects to Metrolink. That's how you typically arrive with our commuter train, which, by the way, has more than 500 miles of track and some 67 stations at the moment. Did a major improvement where we tried to change the scheduling so we have a better flow and more stops. And so that is showing a increase in ridership as a result. We also have a project that we've been doing called a Student Adventure Pass, where students can ride very inexpensively on the train. I think we have, since the inception, about 1.2 million boardings, as we call it, from students alone. And that ties in a little bit to our Orange County Transportation Agency, which has a student pass. If you're a part of one of the community colleges, and there are 5 of them in the county, you can ride free on the buses.
Oh, really?
With your student pass, EID. And it's not just to and from the schools, it's anywhere the buses go.
Right.
We have an interconnection now. If you've come in on the Metrolink train, your ticket will also work on a bus.
Oh, really?
So we're trying to do some of those things. We've had some issues with the slopes failing along the beach. We have the funding, but we're waiting for a permit from the Coastal Commission to be able to construct the work. Because we've identified 4 hot spots. We're trying to be proactive that could fail. So we want to get on them before that happens and keep that line open. So it's another project in the city of Fullerton. We're trying to make that interchange there better and more efficient. So that will come about probably next year, laying some additional tracks there to make the service faster and better. And so the freight trains kind of have a separate path.
That makes sense.
They don't have to congest so much.
That makes total sense. There's a few questions I got after all those things. You just talked about a lot of things, and that's a lot of work because you're dealing with lots of different sort of like co-agencies there and putting them all together. So well done on that point. That's amazing, especially the ticket situation. So one of the things that I wanted to ask you, and I don't know if this is part of what you're planning is, but I have noticed personally driving when we're doing on the 91 and the 73 and things that the the toll roads have been changing a little bit. So it's gone from a diamond lane, and now they're looking at tolls. Is that part of also this congestion idea? Is that part of the planning to make the roads better or more convenient for people?
Well, that's the interchange issue where the 241 connects with the 91.
Right.
And the toll road agency has the funding. We just need to get through some agreements. It's interesting because it takes 4 agencies to approve it. Oh. It's not only the TCA, but because both the Orange County Sanitation Agency has a toll facility, actually at that point going toward LA where it interconnects, and the Riverside Transportation Agency goes the other direction. We have to work into agreements with that, and of course Caltrans kind of looks into the whole thing.
Right.
And one of the issues there is how do we provide for the high occupancy vehicle access and what they might be charged. I think they'll get a reduced rate. So working on that. So that's 4 agencies that have to agree to make that happen, even though the funding is there.
Right, and you're the middleman trying to make it all happen.
Well, I serve on all those boards, and in fact, I'm also chair now of the Orange County Transportation Agency.
Right.
And Metrolink.
Yeah, that's a lot of responsibility right there.
Well, it interconnects, and I enjoy it a lot. The people I meet with are great.
I bet. Yeah, there are some amazing folks out there. Now, one thing that you mentioned time and time again, which, it's everywhere now, and it is about funding. And, there's lots of money that has to be found in order to make Orange County, in particular the 4th District, let's say, run really well. How do you find the funding? Where does it come from? What are the challenges you face with that?
Depends on the need.
Okay.
For example, healthcare is probably the major function of the county. And one of the agencies we work with closely is called CalOptima. That's our healthcare agency. Some counties have opted to have a county hospital. We did not. We instead created a separate agency. We have the advantage of working now with some 22 hospitals. It kind of spreads out, that sort of thing. CalOptima provides healthcare for nearly 1 million of our residents. We sometimes are thought of as a wealthy county because then you think of all the beach stuff and expensive. But we have some residents that are just getting by.
Sure.
And they get their health care through CalOptima. And there's also some funding available there that we've been able to take advantage of. I'll give you some examples. My staff worked with Cal State Fullerton to help them find funding for a social worker program, and also a school of nursing that is there. So we've been able to get scholarships for both the social worker and the school of nursing. We found the funding in the CalOptima reserves.
Oh, excellent.
So that was a nice find. We also have some, if I may finish with Cal State here just a minute.
Sure.
One of my favorite projects there is called Project Rebound.
Okay.
Statewide, that's about, we are the largest provider where former felons are getting degrees in education. And I've been very pleased how that's worked. I now have my 3rd intern from that program.
Wow.
And the recidivism rate is less than 1%. We have an experience of more than 500 people statewide graduating through that. And it's very interesting and kind of rewarding to work with them.
Right.
You kind of see their eyes open up. They've been kind of closed off and stuff. Now they see they have an opportunity.
Right.
And so we help provide some funding to provide housing for women. There was a special a special facility for men, but none for women. So that'll be underway later this year. And that's a very special program, and I've enjoyed that. So we found some funding to help out with that. I have my 7 cities. I have projects going in each of them.
Of course.
And trying to help them out, everything from parks to the Children's Museum in La Habra. We're helping out with that. Stanton, we help furnish a community center. There's just a number of myriad things that we've been doing with all of our cities.
Now, when you mentioned a moment ago about that program you were just mentioning, does that tie into when you first came on our podcast, which was very different to where we are today? You were talking about how it was almost like the governor had said, yeah, we'd like you to see how this works, and going through the court program, helping people who had been into trouble before, and now you're trying to get them back onto track, let's say. And then I believe Senator Tom Omberg was on last week, and he was talking about Prop 36, and it sort of tied in a little bit with it. Is that part of that program that you're still overseeing as of today?
Oh, not
for the
not,
courts?
not the one I referred to at
Okay,
Cal State.
okay, sorry, beg your pardon.
We do have a major criminal justice reform in Orange County. I also serve on a committee called the Orange County Criminal Justice Coordinating Committee.
Okay.
It's my 7th year in that committee, and we've been working on a major criminal justice reform for the county. We're working on some pillars where we kind of need to put things together. The first is what we call prevention, keeping people with minor offenses out of the court system entirely. The second is when we're in the court system, getting them out and into a program that avoids some of the other consequences. We have, for example, people don't realize that we have 3 court systems in the county.
Okay.
One is the juvenile court, that is the main court that handles the civil and most criminal matters, and one is our collaborative court. One day that court will be a court taking care of veterans. Another day it'll be a homeless court. Another day it may deal with drug issues.
Okay.
And it's kind of unusual when you see all these things coordinated and put together. So on the council, we have 3 judges, each of which presides at one of those branches of the court. The sheriff is a very important part of it. The DA, the public defender are all parts of it. Social service department and our healthcare agency. And, of course, our funding people have to be there, too. And probation is a big part. So this is all being put together so we have a better system. Because when we look at our jail, half of those going into it are now either have a drug usage issue or a mental health issue, and typically both. Mm-hmm. We find they cycle again and again through there. We want to take care of them, get them out. So the third pillar is what we call where we put them back out. And what we try to do is, the third pillar is incarceration. Sure. We try to treat them while they're in the jail. And then when we release them, the fourth pillar, we like to have the person who helped them while they're incarcerated greet them on the street. So we continue the care.
All right.
If we know they're homeless, we want to get them into shelter when we release them and not just dump them out there where sometimes they get into more mischief too quickly.
Of course.
Then the fifth pillar is juvenile justice. Juvenile justice, we're finding, has the more education we put in there, the better the result. And it's have a new facility that's opening up.
Now, you did a great job just leading us into the next question there, which is, OC Care's vision. It takes a proactive approach addressing homelessness and mental health in Orange County. What milestones have been achieved so far, and what do you think's next in the program?
Well, it's been incremental, and we think we'll have the whole thing ready to go. The goal is by July 1 of this year.
Wow.
Because we've been working on it now for some time. And getting all of these different agencies to work together. That's the key.
That's a good key to keep too. It seems like you know what the answer to that key is, because you work with a lot of these agencies and you're pulling them all together. It's a good job on that one. So the Fullerton Police Department Behavioural Health Clinical Program is an initiative, a way to address mental health crisis. How's the program making an impact, or have you heard anything that's been going on with that?
Well, that's a program that I created specially and funded for a 2-year pilot with discretionary funding that I had from my district. And it's taken a while because we wanted the behavioral health specialists to work in a police department, and that took extra time to clear them through so they could actually work there. They've now passed all the tests. I think they're about in their second or third month of actually working as part of the department. Some policing agencies will contract for some services, but it's not the same, in my view, of putting them actually in the department. The goal there is threefold. One, we want to make the community healthier by having the right resources there. The second is safer, because when a social problem occurs in the community, you take an officer off of patrol.
Right.
Now they can stay on patrol, and that's the better, safer thing. And the fourth thing that's sometimes overlooked is officer well-being. It's a stressful job. Now we have the behavioral specialists in the department. They'll see firsthand the stressors that the officers experience.
Right. So basically, as you're attending the scene, almost afterwards, you're able to talk about it or work that out.
Yeah, and the camaraderie that I've heard with the two people that are there is just great. Chief is very supportive, and I think we'll find out that it's very worthwhile, not after 2 years, but probably after 1 year.
Now, another thing that's been swinging around with the 4th District is the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. You want to highlight a little bit about what's going on with that?
Well, let me go back a little bit to the homelessness issue. I chaired the Orange County Commission on Homelessness for a year and a half, and I found it out of focus. So with staff, we created some pillars to focus our thoughts. That body is a think tank, basically, to advise the Board of Supervisors on homelessness issues and how to best address them. So the first one is prevention. How do we keep people out of homelessness in the first place? If they're at risk, what can we do to keep them out? The second is what we do on the street, people that are there. So we have a street medicine program out of Optima Health. They are on the street in some of our cities now. Fullerton has a Hope Project that tries to do the same thing, similar to that. It's a little bit different. And then the third pillar is shelter. So we have shelters in our North County, one that is shared by what we call the North Spa, one in Buena Park, and one in Placentia. There are other shelters in the county as well, and Fullerton in particular has tried to open up some on its own. And the last is housing. How do we get enough housing? So we have people in shelter that have been there way too long because there's no place to put them in the next step. So when I looked at that, and I was kind of shocked when we did our point-in-time count to find we had an increase. I thought we had been doing so well that we'd see a decrease. No, it went up.
Oh.
And so I looked at that and said, well, let's help ourselves by keeping people out of the first place. We're not doing enough prevention. Yes, we do have shelters. Yes, we do try to keep people who are on the street into shelter. But housing takes too long. It's like sometimes 3 to 5 years, and by the time you build a unit for a person, now you've got 2 more that fell into homelessness.
Right.
So the program I created, which is again with my 4th District discretionary funding, and for 4th District only, we're working with the Friendly Center, which did some of the prevention work anyway on its own. And by the way, they celebrated their 100-year anniversary last year. They've been around
cool.
a while.
Wow.
Yeah, they're good people. So we funded it with $1 million to help pay for rent. And you needed to demonstrate a couple of things. One, that you had at risk of losing your tenancy.
Okay.
And when we kind of intake is important. We want to be sure about their rental agreement. We will contact the landlord directly. We will not give money to the tenant. We want to work directly with the landlord, which is kind of an interesting aside. Landlords aren't all bad people.
No.
No, they want to be paid, yes, but there's an empathy there. They'd like to see their tenants succeed. So we figure out what it is that they owe, get them caught up and maybe a little ahead. But also the program is designed to work on why are you at risk? Have you had a medical issue? Okay, let's get you over to Optima and get you the care that you need. If you have lost a job, we have job training opportunities. We want to get you over there. Whatever it is, whatever the problem is, while we're taking care of the rental assistance, we want to solve that problem because at the end of the day, we want you economically stable so you can carry on yourself.
Right.
Now, the stats that have come in, about 420 people have been helped, kept out of homeless, about half of whom are children.
Really?
We give primary emphasis to families with children. We want to keep the children in school.
Right.
You lose your tenancy, the children, we don't know where they're going to go.
That's true.
Or even if they go back to school, it might be a different school and they've lost their footing.
Well, it depends where they're going to be staying might change your district, right? I mean, that's another issue you're going to face, isn't it? Right.
Well, so that's the goal. Now, my goal, because cost-wise, I'll give you a comparison. There are other costs I'm not into homelessness. We rebid the cost the major entity that takes care of the Placentia shelter.
Mm-hmm.
We chose the Salvation Army. They're now running that facility. And their bid was $23,000 per bed per year.
Okay.
That's the cost of running that shelter.
Right.
It does not include other things like the medical care and other services we give. Well, on a per capita basis, taking care of people through the program I just described is about $2,200
Per person.
per person.
Right. Per month.
No, period.
Really?
Whole program. So contrast that with the cost of shelter alone.
Right.
It's proving to be financially very effective. The issue with it, it's a new program. It's on top of everything else we're doing.
Right.
My personal goal as chairman is to get this county-wide by the end of the year.
Wow.
Because it is very cost-effective, and I think that's the best way to address homelessness, is make sure people don't experience the trauma of that in the first place.
That's amazing. That really is amazing. So how did they work that out? Like, that's an amazing sum. How did they get down to that?
Well, it took some planning.
I bet, yeah.
To do that. But now we're at that stage where we need to make sure it works.
Yeah.
We need to follow the people that have been helped.
Right.
6 months after they have graduated, if I may use that term. Are they again at risk of homelessness? If so, why?
Right.
Or are they okay?
Yeah.
We don't have that metric yet. We haven't gone far enough time-wise.
I love the follow-through, though. That's really what's always been missing, isn't it? This follow-up care and keep going with it to keep them back get going again, so to speak.
Well, we did some tweaking as the program went forward.
Of course, right.
And I think one thing we need to put more emphasis on is the caseworker.
Right.
They're really key to success, and I don't think we had enough of them.
Right.
So there's some training that'll need to be done of the people that run the program, and I don't want to overload them because they need to follow through and make certain that any of the people come in, their needs are addressed.
So are some of you mentioned earlier, and I know you were talking about something different, but you were talking about how you were working with Cal State Fullerton with folks to learn more about sort of like psychiatric help and things like that. Does all these entities tie into this as well? Are they all, because obviously there's lots of people out there who can be a part of this or to help. Is that also part of the plan that you've been bringing in all these other different entities around to help out?
Well, we want as many of them involved as we can, because part of the plan, too, is to make certain that people who are gone through have all the benefits they can find as they leave.
Right.
For example, the Cal AIM program, which is through Cal Optima, can give them food vouchers. Mm-hmm. That'll help them in the future stay out of homelessness, make certain that they are enrolled so they can get the health care they need for themselves and their family, and keep that cost low so they can pay the rent.
Right.
That's part of what we're trying to do is make certain they understand all the benefits they can get and the help they need.
And then who can help more, if there is any agencies or anything out there, can help more with the employment side of it? Because obviously, you want to try and get folks employed so then they can earn a revenue, which can then continue to help pay. Is there anyone in particular out there who can help with this, or have you got that sorted out already?
Well, that's interesting. The county has a workforce department.
Yeah.
Where we do some training, we help people write resumes, we have listings of jobs and that kind of thing, and some counseling available. And just so you know, earlier this year, we did a employment program at the Brea Mall. And it's the first time the mall nationwide had done something like this. I don't remember the name of the mall people that own the mall. And we had some 750 people that came through. Wow. And about 90 employers there interviewing, handing out their brochures. We had our staff there to help with resumes if they need to write one. And so it was pretty amazing. It's the largest turnout we've ever had, and putting it in a mall, I don't know whose idea it was, but it was brilliant.
Worked brilliantly, yeah. No, it's great.
Went very well.
So out of interest, because obviously there's an awful lot of employment agencies out there now, I mean, it's sort of like that's a new business. Is that something that would be a benefit to the Orange County Supervisor's Office or even the county office, that if these agencies were to reach out to them and say, hey, we might be able to help place people into jobs, or is that something that might be of benefit?
Well, I think that's kind of an individual choice, but speaking of employment agencies, we employed one to look for a new CEO. And that brochure went out the beginning of this month.
Right, yeah.
So with the application due by the end of it.
Yeah, oh, that's good.
So, we'll see how it goes.
We'll see how that works, and then if that works well, you might think of
maybe
continuing.
we can do something else. So.
Oh, that makes sense. That's good. You mentioned a little bit before we both have about Cal State Fullerton and the various initiatives that are going on. Can you share some of the key projects that you guys have both been working alongside within the project world and the community?
Well, I work a little differently. I have 7 cities, and I meet regularly in the city halls with the city managers to see what they need, what's going on. And sometimes they bring in council people, sometimes they bring in the director of public works, whatever the need may be at the moment. And I learn about the communities and what they need. For example, we're going to dedicate a project we helped out on in La Habra for a new women's center, a building up there. So we find out about the needs as best we can. And they can call us in between these meetings. It's not just one shot at a time. So we find out what the needs are in the community. I enjoy learning about the events in the community. I find, for example, both Placentia and La Habra have tamale festivals.
Oh, right,
they're both overloaded. You can't walk around. And how do I get to both at the same time? So...
we don't eat too much either.
It's really wonderful what our communities can do.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty amazing. Now, I know your office is hosting a kids fishing derby and future leaders events. We'll post that online, and people can see that as well. And we'll also get it out in our newsletters. You want to briefly share a little bit about those 2 events?
Yes, we typically do 2 fishing derbies a year for kids. We rotate them among the lakes in my district. This next one will be at Clark Park, which coincidentally, the boundary between Fullerton and Buena Park runs right down the park, middle of the park, the lake actually, and also has a center where we have fossils that have been preserved. So that will be March 29. We provide the gear and the bait.
Wow.
And we stock the lake.
Oh, my goodness.
And so it's a lot of fun that we do that. Encourage people to register an event because it could sell out. There's no cost.
Wow.
We provide all that. Future Leaders Program, been doing that now for 4 or 5 years. Mm-hmm. It's open to sophomores and juniors in high schools in my district. We try to give them a little bit of an eye-opening of what they could do if they went to work for the county. This particular program, they'll need a complete tour of the Orange County Airport. They'll meet the bomb-sniffing dog, among other things. And one we found a very popular one among in the past has been a tour of the coroner's office.
Oh, wow.
And it's pretty interesting, or you're not going to see some body being cut open or anything like that. But what's interesting is the sensitivity that they show to people who may come in to pick up the effects of a loved one. Mm. And our coroner's office is one of the best in the state. It's where other counties send their staff for training.
Oh, wow.
So those are some of the special things we're going to do. We also have our annual Kindness Awards coming up. It'll be our 7th award coming up on November 13, which is World Kindness Day. We always hit that day. And we're very pleased and say thank you to the City of Buena Park for providing the facility for us at no cost. We've also held it in the La Habra City Hall. If you've been up there, mm-hmm. it's built around an atrium, mm-hmm. and they've been kind enough to make that open.
That's lovely.
So we try to find people in each of the 7 cities who've done exceptionally kind things during the past year. We want to hold them out and celebrate them as role models for the community to emulate.
That's great.
So that's coming up, and we have a nomination process, which you can look at our website and see if there's someone that you think has shown exceptional kindness and should be considered for that kind of award. We like to kind of celebrate them before the city council if we have a chance to. So,
I love the fact you mentioned about role models there. You know, on a personal note, I've been in this job for 4 years now, and through the time, obviously, we've worked with many different political entities, whether it's city level or what have you. And, you know, between you and your wife and your office, the amount of time and service that you've placed into our community is amazing. You know, from working as a city council member back in the day in Fullerton and working all the way through all the years. So I just want to say thank you for all that. You guys really rock. You go to a lot of events. You really put it out there. And personally, me seeing that is you really are a role model and a leader to our community. So I wanted to thank you for that, both you and your wife. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. May I describe one more program?
Of course you can. Of course, I've got another question for you, so don't worry. You know, we're running out of time.
Well, one thing that I felt I wanted to do, and we've done 2 of them, is a gun buyback program.
Yes.
And it took a little effort to put that together. We are respectful of Second Amendment rights. It's totally voluntary. We actually give out gift cards for the value we place on the guns being turned in. And to date, we've done 2. We have taken off the street 757 firearms.
Well, that's quite a lot.
Including 53 assault weapons.
Wow.
And so I wanted to see if I can get a 3rd one done.
Right.
This is just for my district.
Right.
We did this. And it's kind of interesting because we needed the right kind of people to staff it. So we got people coming from 7 different police departments came together to do the staffing.
Right.
And it was kind of fun. They were kind of swapping stories among themselves. So it was kind of like a police officer jamboree or something. So we had fun. But one of the things we also did, we gave out gun locks to anybody that had other weapons that they'd like to secure.
It's a good idea.
And so now we created a gun lock program where you can get a free gun lock by going online to my website. We will give out as many as 5, no charge.
Right.
And that's also became, coincidentally, state law. If you have a weapon that is not secured, you have a gun locker, that's better. But if you have a gun kind of sitting around, you need to have a gun lock.
100% you should. Totally agree
so
on that.
Keep everything safe. So that's a new program. We've just started. I think we've had so far about 60 requests for gun locks.
Right.
And so that's something that we're going to emphasize this year. It's safety and make certain that the gun you want to protect yourself didn't hurt somebody that you loved.
I love that idea. I think that's a fantastic idea. Now, one last question before we go is obviously, you know, your terms, your term is slowly coming towards an end as a supervisor anyway, and obviously we've already got all these different candidates running around saying about how they're going to be good in the job and all the rest of the stuff. But on a serious note, like what happens when somebody leaves a term of office? I mean, You've got all these different programs going on, and I know there's a board of supervisors. So do they sort of like, well, we're still keeping all these programs on, and then the new person learns about them, or is it like a handoff period? Well, what sort of happens?
Well, the new supervisor makes his or her own choice.
Oh, really?
I'm hopeful, for example, if we can get our rental assistance program going countywide,
right,
that will be a county program itself. They may choose or not choose to do a gun buyback. Those are one of a kind, one at a time. That's their choice.
Right.
They may work differently. They may choose not to meet as often as I do with city managers. Traditionally, we meet more with the political side. So I'm a little bit different the way I work, because I find city managers not only know more about the city than anybody else.
Yeah, they know everything. They're running it.
It takes the politics out when I meet with them.
Yes,
get right down to what's needed.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I hopefully, after that election, which will be, I don't know if it's a runoff or not, if it is, it'll be settled in November of 2026, to grab he or she,
Right.
give them a spot in my office,
Right.
and let them choose. Here's
All
what
right.
we've been doing, and I think you'll find some of them worthwhile.
Yeah.
Or you may want to go chart your own course.
Right, right. Oh well, that's good advice. So we come to the area now where we offer you to share whatever you want to share with at the end, whether it's a little bit of advice for anybody, or something we've missed, and it's your free mic time. There's no question. It's just whatever you'd like to share with us all.
Well, I appreciate that opportunity. My wife gave me a book recently. In August, we'll be celebrating our 50-year anniversary.
Wow! Congratulations.
She sort of knows what I need at this point. So she gave me a book, How to Hug a Porcupine. And now, a real porcupine, they've got these spines, and they get upset or nervous, they put their spines out.
Right.
Kind of untouchable. Well, the book is really about human porcupines. People who kind of get touched off about something, they put their spines out. So how do you deal with them? And in the political world, you get a few of those.
Yeah.
Like every meeting, maybe. And so the book kind of counsels you on how to deal with that. But I found one of the more interesting chapters in it, the porcupine within yourself.
Oh.
What gets you to put your spines out?
All right.
And so if you think about that, you kind of better prepare for what might happen in the future. You're aware of it, and you also know better how to deal with other people who are human porcupines.
I like that. That's a good one.
So in my world, you don't get things done if you don't get along with other people. You need to bring people together. Even the porcupines have a point of view, for sure. And so we need to, in everything we do, everything I've described, I couldn't do if I didn't have the help of other people joining in.
That's true.
So that's really the key. And I appreciate how you're putting people together, and this new facility is fabulous.
Thank you.
And you're bringing people together, too, to take care of the business needs of the world, and that's extremely important.
Yes, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thank you, sir. Well, thank you very much for coming on today. Really appreciate it. We've made you suffer enough. Thank you for that. And thank you again to listeners and viewers for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to Chamber Talk so you don't miss any other episodes. And until next time, stay inspired and keep making an impact. Thank you very much, Supervisor. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.